And here we are live on a Thursday night, the last day of the month of April. One third of the year 2020 is over with. Joe Rayo and Joe Chaffee. That is Joe Rayo over there. And I'm Joe Chaffee. And this is the Joe and Joe Weather Show on a night where we're getting ready for some heavy rains that have been falling all day long in eastern and central Pennsylvania, down into Maryland and parts of Virginia. There's been a lot of flash flooding around. And this rain area hasn't moved all day. Finally, starting to see some movement eastward, uh, but I had a few surprises today.
Really?
Yes, well, the first surprise was at 4:30 this morning. I wake up to pouring rain. I mean, just absolutely pouring rain.
Right.
And I look at the radar, and of course, there is what appears to be a very solid, large area of rain in what is a warm frontal boundary. So that took about 3 or 4 hours to get through. So it really didn't come to an end until about 8 o'clock or so. And then it was still, we had some showers. Then the wind started to howl. So I went for the rain had stopped enough. So I said, let me try. I'll go out for my walk. And I kept it short and I kept it close in case it did start pouring. And fortunately, I went through one shower, which wasn't really too bad. And that was it. And then the wind started to howl, which was expected. And one thing I thought yesterday, and this happens out here sometimes in cases like this where you have, these slow moving fronts and literally a wall of rain, maybe 150 miles or so wide, and it takes all day to move in, and you have this strong southerly flow. I thought yesterday, am I going to break out into some sunshine for a while? And then I never mentioned it last night. I said, nah, probably won't. Because I thought maybe the wind would be more southeast than anything else. And sure enough, at about 1 o'clock this afternoon, it didn't break out wide open, but it did break out enough that we had sun for most of the time between, say, 1 and 5 o'clock. And it, it, it was probably just over me and points east to an extent because I went out and I'm seeing all these dark, solid overcast solid overcast to my west, solid overcast to my east, and right above me it just opened up with some sunshine. So that was a bit of a surprise. But I did think of it yesterday, even though I didn't mention it.
And now we just wait for the main bout of precipitation. We've got the gusty winds, and that area of rain is mainly to the west of us. And by the way, Joe, we were talking about this yesterday. How parts of northern New Jersey were in the flood watch, and also to the north, Dutchess and not Dutchess, but Ulster and Sullivan County
Right.
flood watch, and somehow or other, Orange and Rockland County were not in the flood watch, and saying, how is that possible? Well, ultimately, during the overnight hours, the National Weather Service did include those two counties, and it looks like now this line of rather potent activity moving slowly, underscore that word slowly, to the east, and probably is loaded for bear, and we're looking for maybe a 1 to 2 inch soaker in the next 6 or 8 hours as it's again moves slowly in, and maybe even a rumble or two of thunder to go with it as well.
The area does start to move a little faster overnight, so that for the coastal areas and from New York City east through southern New England, it's probably going to be confined to maybe a 6 or 7 hour period of rain. And it may be mostly done by the time wait. I don't know what time people are waking up in the morning, but I'm usually up by 6 a.m. But much of it is offshore by 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we'll get what we get tonight. But the inland areas are going to be raining for an extra hour or two. And in a situation like this, an extra hour or two can easily be another half inch to even as much as an inch of rain. If you're right under one of those bands, and there was even some areas back through Pennsylvania and in Maryland today had to deal with some training where you get the heavy rain. It looks like it just sits there in one spot, and you get development of heavy downpours that just continue over the same area for hours. And those areas got hit fairly hard. I have some rainfall maps that I'm going to bring up in a moment. By the way, just want to welcome everybody from my Facebook page. Welcome to the live stream tonight. and also those of you who are watching from the meteorologist Joe Chaffee weather app. You got your notification that you are able to watch live the Joe and Joe weather show tonight. Or if you didn't make it to the live, you can always watch it on the replay because it'll be there until we until this time tomorrow when we put on the next show. So, with that in mind, let's take a look at what's happening right now. I'm going to bring up. Uh, I'm just going to bring up, Joe, a couple of Doppler radar shots here of rainfall so far. And in Pennsylvania, it's around Williamsport and Harrisburg. The yellows represent 2.5 inches or more. And we do see, a fairly sizable area north of Route 78, north of Harrisburg, and then north of Route 80 up around Williamsport, where we've seen anywhere from 2.5 to 3 inches of rain. And this was as of 6:22 Eastern time. So it's still the back edge of the rain hasn't pulled out of this area. I just freshened it up now as of 7 o'clock. Those 2.5 inch plus rain areas have gotten a little bit bigger. And you see the surrounding areas. The green starts the 1 inch rainfall from State College on one side. And I'll bring up Philadelphia. Mount Holly's is not quite in. See, they're just getting into the rain here. So there's not a whole lot to see. And it'll go southwest from the I'm sorry, that was Upton's radar. This is Mount Holly's. You can see the area to the west, 2.5 inches or more, and even 3 and 4 inches. They are being indicated near Lancaster. So some again those heavy and that extends south down to about Baltimore, which got between 2.5 and 3 inches of rain. Again, so far because there's still more rain to work through on the radar.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of training, and the term training meaning that the cells of precipitation, the heavy cells, are moving, for example, straight south to north, while the whole mass, the whole area, is edging ever so slowly to the east. So if you're along the path of that training line of heavy precipitation, you're going to get clobbered. That's why a place like Lancaster picked up close to 4 inches of the wet stuff today. And again, Joe, it's moving at a pace where it eventually is going to get here. I think that for the lower Hudson Valley and probably for a good part of the tri state area, the main time or the main interval of concern will be from about 9 o'clock tonight to 3 o'clock in the morning. And again, embedded in all of this, maybe some rumbles of thunder. Although it looks like if you're a fan of thunderstorms, maybe your best chance will be actually tomorrow afternoon as this upper level low pressure system, this cool pool of unstable air, moves over the northeastern part of the country in our area as well.
By the way, if you look closely on the radar loop, you can see there was a couple of things here. It's very interesting how this shows up so well tonight. Look at what's going on back in western Pennsylvania, back over to Michigan, and in Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. That's the upper low because you
Right.
could see the rotation here of the echoes going counterclockwise. And then, of course, you've got this ridiculously strong southerly flow that's pulling up all this moisture. If you notice the yellow, as you see, the yellow areas all through Pennsylvania here, they've kind of been sitting pretty much in the same place. It's only in the last couple of hours or so that we're starting to see this eastern edge make progress. If I go to the first frame of the loop, I'll just put in the back edge, and then I'm going to put in the eastern edge, and you're beginning to see a little bit of progress where the western edge is moving uh, eastward, particularly when you look down in from eastern Virginia over to Maryland into Maryland. There, you're starting to see a little bit more speed. So all of this is lifting up to the northeast. The other thing is I'm noticing, and I'm going to check out Mount Holly to see if they've said anything. But right in here, it's very, very small, but there's a very narrow line of red there moving off the Delaware coast and into Delaware Bay and about to head to Cape May. There might be a couple of strong thunderstorms in there that are moving to the northeast. It's pretty small. Also, going further south, we did have this line of heavy downpours and heavy thunderstorms move through eastern North Carolina, And that has now pretty much moved offshore, with the exception of the Outer Banks, where we're still seeing some heavy weather going on. And you can actually pick out a squall line right in here that is offshore with this cold front that is moving on to the east. But as you go further south, there was thunderstorms in Florida earlier today, so that's all gone. So much of the southeast and Gulf states on the quiet side, but all the action now upstate New York, flooding around Lake Ontario, on up near Oswego. I saw a few posts for some friends of mine up in northern New York, seeing some flooding heavy rains there. And again, we're just going to have to watch this play through. And eventually, this is all going to move into New England as well. Although, again, the timing, since it's going to be moving a little faster, that's why you don't have flood watches up in areas from New York City to the east, because uh, this area is not going to be sitting there for hours and hours and hours. It's going to move slowly, but it is going to be moving. So more than likely, they'll avoid getting, some local vulnerable spots will probably have some flooding issues, but I don't think it'll be anything major.
Right. And again, the general idea for the tri-state area in terms of rainfall amounts, at least I came up with anywhere from 1 to maybe 1 3/4 inches of rain added on to what we've already seen. Up here in the home base in Putnam Valley, we've had about 6/10 of an inch going back to last night and earlier today. So that on top of what is coming, so we're going to see a good 2 inch total. The thing is um, that it's coming in stages. We actually have a break here. If we were getting all of this at once, or most of this at once, I'm sure that we would be under a flood watch as well. But again, it's only areas, it would appear, places west of the Hudson River that have already seen a significant amount that are under a flood watch right now. That could change, obviously,
Yeah.
if we get into some convection and heavier activity in the next few hours. But that's where it stands right now in terms of precipitation, in terms of rain.
On the rainfall forecast map from the Weather Service, it's a little difficult to delineate here. In Pennsylvania, for example, a lot of these numbers that you're seeing, 2.31, 1.92 near Reading, 2.12 in near Allentown, 2.25 inches down in Philadelphia. Some of that, I'm not sure how much of this is reflecting what's already fallen and how much is going to be in addition. When you look at the numbers, say along the immediate coast and up the Hudson Valley, these numbers look to me like they would be total rainfall amounts, from what's going forward, because it hasn't really started raining yet. So the rainfall maps at this point are a little bit tough to figure. So I think you're right, though, what you said in terms of the rainfall that's going to be falling tonight on top of what was already on the ground. And a lot of the areas that are getting flooding, by the way, are also victims of the fact that the rain event that we had last Friday and the one that we had on Monday, Sunday, Monday, these areas in Pennsylvania and upstate New York and into New England, away from the coast, got much more rain than the coastal areas did, particularly from the system from earlier this week, where the coast really didn't get very much. So the ground here was saturated to begin with. So it wasn't going to take much to cause some flooding. I just want to really quick go over a few watches and warnings that are up at 7 o'clock in as of 7 p.m. because there are going to be a couple of changes at 8 o'clock. So I'll let the map load up here, and so at the moment, we have a very large area that's under flash flood or flood watches, depending on what office is putting up what, from much of areas across southern New York, the Hudson Valley. They're not showing Orange and Rockland County on this map for some reason, but that has been added. I think that's because it doesn't go into effect until after 8 o'clock. But you've got high wind warnings that have been up all afternoon for another, it's 7:16, so another 45 minutes, central South Jersey down to Delaware. Wind advisories surrounding that. The wind advisories from New York City east across Long Island and southern New England, those are up until about midnight. And I'm just going to move the time clock here a little bit. So you can see they added the flash flood watches uh, up your way west of the Hudson, northern New Jersey, extending southward Again, all of this. Plus, we've got coastal flooding issues going on for parts of New Jersey and Long Island at high tide because of the south wind.
And our wind advisory originally, and now that covers southern Westchester, much of the New York area, southwestern Connecticut, most of northern New Jersey. I mean, that was up only until 8 o'clock, and then they decided that they were going to extend it to midnight. I was kind of scratching my head and saying, why till 8 o'clock? Why not extend it at least into when the heavy rains are
Well,
here?
they didn't even put the wind advisory up for me until after the winds already had started howling.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's always fun. By the way,
yeah.
those flood watches also continue down in Delaware and the Delmarva Peninsula, and still up in eastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. Though the rains are coming to an end there, so these watches are going to disappear before too long on the southern end of this as the rains finish up.
Excuse me. I think both of us are having a little bit of trouble talking here.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I should have brought a glass of water down with me. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on all of that. And then tomorrow again, we'll find nothing like as organized as what we see right now and what is approaching right now. But again, we may see in the afternoon tomorrow a few pop-up storms because that big pool of unstable and chilly air is going to
Which
be
I'm
moving right
circling right
over.
now. Which I
Yeah,
got the satellite, so I'm highlighting what you're saying.
so that'll be over us tomorrow, and that'll set the stage for possibly a few thunder bumpers here. And then when we get into the weekend, and it's funny, early in the week I was pessimistic. You were optimistic. Yesterday I said, well, now I think we actually may have a good chance of getting into some decent clearing. And then you went the other way and said, well, maybe not. But I think the two of us now
Yeah,
are
it's
in.
Saturday's good.
Saturday is going to be a very, very nice day. Or as I would have said if I was still doing regular television, and this is television, so I can say it here. Saturday will be an outdoorable day. So get
Yes.
on out and enjoy it because once again,
Joe,
we
we
have,
are television.
yes, we
Okay?
are.
We are television.
But I mean, like once again, we're not going to see as many of these kind of days on Saturday as what we would like. Yeah, it's a nice big chunk of real estate of dry, fair weather that's heading
Yeah,
in.
that's all here through the plains
Around.
and down into the all up and down the Mississippi Valley, all that dry air. But you can already see to the west of that, you got all this stuff that's moving up into the northern Rockies. And that weather system coming eastward for Sunday looks to be on the weak side. We'll get into that momentarily. Here's the surface map as of see if the 21Z map is up. It should be. Yes, it is. And the warm front is now right at New York City. It's right on top of New York City as of the 5 o'clock plot. And the cold front is swinging eastward. The arm, normally when you see, folks, when you see on a surface map, you see a surface low, and normally the front is running from the low either straight south or south southwest of the low center. But because of how the upper air is oriented, you see the front has already whipped around well to the east. That's because of that wonderful little upper low to the near the lakes that's just driving the rotation of this whole thing. And you've got a wrapped up occluded low, which means it's reached its peak intensity, the surface low that's in eastern Michigan. And gradually you'll probably see some kind of low forming over us or to the east. But you see how the front has already whipped through Pennsylvania. It's off the Virginia coast, off the North Carolina coast, and you got all this cool, dry air that's moved down into the Carolinas, into Georgia. Temperatures in the 60s and low 70s, dew points in the 40s and low 50s. This is really nice air that's moved in that is going to uh, try and not succeed tomorrow because we've got the upper low, but we are going to get into the air that's back out to the west in the middle Mississippi Valley where it's been nice and sunny. Temperatures in the low 70s, Joe, all the way up into Iowa and Nebraska. Dew points in the 30s and low 40s. This is really nice, clean, good air. So we should be in Saturday. We should be in good shape, I think.
I think if you want to look for anything negative to say about Saturday, it may be just a touch on the breezy or slightly windy side in the afternoon. I'm thinking winds on Saturday, west northwest 5 to 15. There may be an occasional stronger gust to 20 or 25. But hey, if you have a chance, if you own a catamaran or a sailboat or whatever, it might make for a very lovely day to be out and about on the water. Just stay at least 6 feet away from the boat that's nearby.
Unless you're done. Are we allowed to go boating on May 1st?
I don't know.
Because
I don't know
you
what
can't go boating right now. I think eventually you are going to they are going to open that up, but I don't know if they're going to open it up on May 1st or wait till the mid month. Just a small area left of severe weather risk in easternmost North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. That's going to disappear in the next couple of hours. You've got marginal risk in Idaho, parts of Montana and Wyoming for tonight. Then for tomorrow, excuse me, no severe weather risk in the east. You've got SPC highlighting, though, as Joe pointed out, the upper low triggering off a chance maybe for a shower or thunderstorm. So they have a general area of storms from upstate New York down into Delaware and the Delmarva Peninsula and eastern Maryland, eastern Pennsylvania, and another small area in eastern North Carolina. Small area of marginal risk there, northeast Colorado, southeast Wyoming, and into western Nebraska. Hi, Mrs. Rayo.
She's coming.
Hi.
She's
Bye,
coming.
Mrs. Rayo.
Hello, hello. Good evening.
Good
Actually,
evening.
big planters fell.
Oh,
Three of
three.
them.
Oh, well,
What fell?
we have a bunch of planters with palm trees.
Had or have?
Well, we have, except that they're in these big vase, containers or whatever. And when it gets really windy, 'cause that's the only way that they can blow down is when it gets really windy, they blow down. Three of them have blown down in the last half hour.
Oh,
So that's a testimony right there that
your
it's wind.
wind's pretty busy up there.
Yeah, it is.
I'm
It should
looking
be
at I'm looking at the 7 o'clock obs. The winds have actually come down a bit here along the coast. Along Long Island, I certainly had gusts up into the 40s earlier, but right now most of the gusts are between 25 and 30 miles an hour. Kennedy had a gust of 37. The Jersey Shore wind gusts have been running really about 30 to 40 miles an hour at the moment. I didn't get a chance to see what they were earlier. Atlantic City's gusting to 41. Coyle Field is gusting to 40. I'm just giving a quick view of the numbers here. And down in Delaware, the winds have really started to drop. Right along the immediate coast, they're up, but you go inland, those winds have dropped off considerably. The other thing I want to take a look at, let me find that radar I had. Let me get back to that radar shot and see.
You're gonna bring up a picture of Gary Berghoff now?
No, I wanted to. I just want to see what that line. All right, so that line that we saw on the regional radar. Now that radar is usually about 15 minutes behind. So I'm pulling the real time. This is 7:13. This one's 11 minutes behind. That line of storms that was in Delaware Bay is now into southern New Jersey. It looks like it's weakened a little bit, but there's a fairly solid line of heavy rains here. The rains have just about reached New York City. The eastern edge. It's moving still more north than it is moving to the east. But we're getting that rain area from the south now pushing northward. And it looks like, Joe, the rain is just about, as of 7:25, just about getting very close to your house.
Yes,
It's
yes.
near, but not quite near peak skill. But
I'm looking out the window and I don't see all that much falling right now, but any moment now.
at any moment, it could come,
Yes.
crashing down in terms of the rain. All right, so we don't have to worry. You have to go save your palm trees. Just let me know. All right, so let's just bring up the upper air again. I've been using this from SPC's site where they analyze the HREF model, which is as good as any of the other models if you want to look at in the short term. But I just like it because graphically it looks very good, and it really gives you a good idea of what the upper air looks like. Because not only do we see the height lines, which are these are the equivalent of isobars at the surface, but we're looking at the 500 millibar level or 18,000 feet. And then the colored areas with the wind barbs there, you can actually see where the strongest winds, where the jet stream is. And you've got this very strong jet that's in eastern Kentucky on the west side of the upper low. The upper low is right there. Oh, see, I just drew it off the satellite, got the initial. It's exactly in the right spot. And then you have your upper winds are doing something like this. And notice right up the East Coast, they're coming up almost straight from the south, and those wind barbs are 80 and 90 and even 100 knots here. 100 knot jet that's pushing up from offshore off the Maryland, Delaware coast and into New Jersey. And this is all pushing northward. That's your drive of heavy rain that's coming in. And if you watch what happens, gradually the trough just kind of slides slowly eastward. We are now at Friday afternoon. The upper low is weakening, but that upper trough, that cold upper trough that Joe pointed out with regards to the chance of thunderstorms, that cold pool of air aloft is sitting right overhead pretty much in the northeast. And that's your area of thunderstorm risk tomorrow. Remember, SPC has the thunderstorm risk roughly about here, where I've just drawn the red circle, and that's with that cold pool of air. So if we wind up seeing a thunderstorm develop in there, it could be one of those low top deals. And then out it goes. The trough at Saturday morning, the trough is moving off the New England coast. We've got northwest winds aloft, and this should bring that nice air, nice weather here, at least for Saturday. So fingers crossed on that. And I got I'm going to bring the GFS up now. We'll take a look at how this is all playing out on the weather models.
And Saturday a nice day. Sunday actually we may have uh, more in the way of cloud cover, especially early in the day on Sunday, and then we get into Sunday afternoon, and we should break out into some sunshine, and then the next weather disturbance will move in with maybe some showers Sunday night.
Yeah, it's funny how this has evolved from the last couple of days, because now it looks like there's some kind of weak front that comes through here early on Sunday, and there's even a couple of showers on the GFS early Sunday morning. Then they move out, and then you get what looks like I guess that's a warm front that's going by. I don't know. It's a little hard to figure because it's not exactly the most wrapped up system in the world. But then Sunday evening, you do have a cold front. Looks like if the GFS wants to produce some showers and storms down in parts of southern New Jersey and into Virginia, and then that moves out. And if you play the game of the GFS, Monday and Tuesday, Joe, look okay, a little bit on the cool side. And then we've got another one of these lows coming out of the plains for Tuesday night, Wednesday, and it looks like another low going underneath us with another round of onshore winds. Tuesday night into Wednesday, maybe it starts to get better later on Thursday. I don't know, but if you're looking for back-to-back days of 70-degree plus weather, keep looking because we're still not there yet.
Well, I think
Sunday we have a shot.
Saturday and Sunday will be flirting with, or maybe even a tad above 70 on Saturday, and maybe about that on Sunday. If you're looking for that, thankfully it does fall during a weekend, but I think definitely Saturday will be the by far the sunnier and more preferred day as opposed to Sunday, which may be a little cloudier.
Well, as long as we want, that's going to be really the key. I think how much sunshine are we going to see? Saturday definitely looking like the sunnier of the 2 days. So how much sun are we going to see? And that'll be the determinant ultimately. I don't think we're going to have any kind of real sea breeze problem to deal with on Saturday because those northwest isobars. Sunday might get a little bit tricky, but hey, as far as the way the weather has been, if we could string together 36 hours worth of 36 to 48 hours of rain-free time, we'll just have to take it because that's the best we're going to do. The upper air pattern, as we move along with this trough lifting out, you get a little bit of a break on Saturday because you're sort of in between systems. Your trough from tonight is oh, come on, there we go. Here's your trough from tonight, and you already have another short wave that's driving down into from northern Canada. I'm sorry, from southern Canada into the western lakes, and that's already playing through here Sunday afternoon and night. You see it here, and then we wait for yet another short wave. Actually, this is an upper low that is dropping down out of the northern plains, and because of the flow out of Canada, you've got uh, this jet that runs from northern Canada into New England on Tuesday. That upper low here is going to wind up getting forced southeastward. So that sets us up for that situation maybe for late Tuesday into Wednesday and early Thursday. And you still have troughing in the east, Joe, all for the rest of next week. through next weekend, and then maybe when we get to around the 13th or 14th of the month, you start to get a bit of a ridge that tries to pop up here in the east. There's actually a 585 closed upper high along the Virginia coast late in the forecast period. So it would suggest after about the 10th or 11th of May that maybe we'll start to see a bit of a pattern change around mid-month.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
long range is always maybe. It's never
I
definitive.
posted yesterday on my Facebook page the CDC, the climate CPC Climate Prediction Center forecast, indicating that there was still at least a 70% probability in their eyes of below normal temperatures to about the middle part of this month. And I made a quote from my late grandfather, my Italian grandfather, who, whenever he was annoyed, he used to say "uffa," and I said, so many of you will see this with the potential of below normal temperatures into the first half of May, and all of you may very well say "Ufan."
Yes.
And did you know a lot of the comments or a lot of the replies said the same thing: "Ufa, ufa, ufa." So we're all hoping, Joe, that your speculation about getting back to at least normal or maybe above normal by the middle of May will pan out. Because I don't know about you, but I'm pretty well sick of all of this.
Yeah, and this way, by the time we get to the second half of May, we could start looking for maybe an early season tropical storm.
Hmm. Well, our friend
Steve,
over uh,
Steve,
Captain
look,
Kirk, our friend over um, at Weather 360, they've now issued their official hurricane forecast. And they say that there is a rather significant threat in their minds of hurricane or tornado or tropical storm activity along the Gulf Coast and the northeastern United
well,
States.
look, it's been in the Northeast. The threats in the Northeast usually uh, they don't come. You get a decade like the '50s where there were a ton of storms that moved up the East Coast, and then it went quiet. And then it's been kind of haphazard here and there since. So it's really been since the year with Hurricane Sandy, where we haven't really seen. We've seen a few storms kind of maneuver themselves up the East Coast in one form or another, or just offshore, but there haven't been any significant threats. To the Mid Atlantic or the Northeast, so maybe it's time that this year maybe it'll happen. I don't know. We'll have to just see how the whole season evolves. Steve Lapointe, thanks for hitting Super Chat tonight, telling me to stop following fake news. I will do the best I can. Steve's referring to a Facebook post I made this morning when I woke up to just some. I woke up and when I was looking at Facebook this morning, the first two or three things I saw were just you know two or three new conspiracy theories that are running around, and I don't know, they just rubbed me the wrong way. But I stand by what I put up. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you can see what the post is. I'm not going to get into it, but uh, you can disagree with me. That's certainly your prerogative to do. I don't think we were all put on this earth to agree with each other. Except you and I seem to agree all the time. Yesterday it was a rare instance where you and I both flipped in different directions from what we had earlier in the week. But that's just one of those things. Anyway, thanks for hitting super chat. Joe and I, as always, really do appreciate it. Alfred Phillips, by the way, is on tonight, and I just want to give him a big hello because he's he's on the North Slope. He's our northernmost watcher in Alaska. He's got the Arctic Ocean basically on his doorstep,
Wow.
and yeah, so that I will always be impressed by. I think that
What
is
is that? That's
so cool.
latitude 75 north.
Something like that, yeah,
That wow.
something like that. It's
Well,
in
he's
one of
getting it.
it's in one of those places where you can't just run out and go to Walmart.
Well, he is. It's getting into that time now where he is going to be getting into the midnight sun, where he'll have 24 hours of daylight. Sun will not
Yes,
be setting for him for a while. So that would be most interesting to see, wouldn't it? I mean, like you wake up at like a 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and look out the window and the sun is still out. That's weird.
Yeah, and it must be just as weird the other way in the wintertime where it's dark most of the time.
Hmm.
So I guess you just learn how to deal with it in terms of trying to figure out how to sleep during in those conditions. So all right, so I know you got a couple and I got a couple. So I got the chairman is not with us because this is movie night with his mom, and we wish them both well. Scott was ill, and thankfully he didn't have COVID, so he's not here tonight. But we have Johnny Quest has his questions, and Timothy Veltman has is his questions. So I will fire first if you're okay with that.
Fine.
Okay. Um, what did on May 6th, 1891, New York City did this.
Has it done it before or after?
It hasn't done it very much during the month of May.
And what was the date again?
6th May 1891.
Well, we know that on May 1st, 1956, it snowed,
Right,
and then a few days later there was one snow event that occurred in 1947. May 6th, 1891, and it hasn't done this very often.
right.
What has not happened very often in May? In the month of May or just overall?
That's it. Month of May.
Oh, okay. We dropped to we went down to 32 degrees.
There it is.
Is that it?
You logically picked the question apart. Yes.
Yes.
Now let's go to Timothy Veltman's questions. Okay. So the category is average annual temperatures, and the answer is the number of years since 1869 that the recorded average annual temperature was below 50 in New York City. Good
The
luck. The
the
average annual temperature
the number of times it has been below 50 on average in New York.
for the year.
Uh, well, I'll say 3 times. I'll say that one of those years may have been like 1917, 1918, or
No.
no.
Well, okay, so you said three, which is close. The answer was two.
Okay.
Okay. 1875, where the temperature average for the year was 49.4, and 1888,
The year of the blizzard.
right, where the average temperature was 49.3 for the year.
I wonder
Okay.
what it was. I'd like to know what it was in 19 because I know 1917, 18 were a couple of really frigid winter years.
Yes, but
And
those are the two, 1875 and 1875 and 1888. Interestingly, it has never averaged above 60 for a calendar year. The average annual temperatures, the rest of the group, the lowest was 50.0. And aside from the 2 years, the lowest was 50.0 and the highest was 59.9.
now the 59.9, I'll bet you was within the last 10 years.
We'll have to look it up. Now, here's one more question for you. The category is astronomy.
Aha.
Okay. Um, these names of the seven stars that make up the constellation the Pleiades. Did I say it right?
Right.
Okay. Or the seven sisters.
Right. And you want me to name all seven?
Name them.
Let's see. There's Merope, Atlas. Uh, I can never pronounce some of these correctly. Pleione.
Go on.
uh, oh God. You couldn't have asked me the seven stars in the Big Dipper, could you? You had to ask the seven stars in the Pleiades. Uh,
Right. Well,
Se,
you're a
Se,
dipper. You're a dipper from way back.
yeah, Celion or Celone or whatever. I don't know.
Okay. So Al What I want to know is which one of these ladies, how shall we say, was I don't know,
Well,
a,
I always
a
wondered
little looser than others. I guess I
how did
don't.
how did one of the sisters get a name Atlas?
Well, we can get into I can get into a lot of trouble with this. I better keep quiet.
All
So
right.
Alcyon, Atlas, Electra, Maya. Is it Maya? MAIA.
I should be ashamed of myself.
Miro,
I should be ashamed of myself because one of my friends named his daughter Maya.
Maya, Merope, uh, 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 Pleone, Pleione,
You see,
and
but it's so difficult to pronounce.
yeah,
It's
and well, there's three vowels at what three vowels together, E-I-N-O, and that's always a pain.
right.
And Taygate, Taygete.
Okay.
Which one was the youngest sister?
Do you have the answer to that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just wondering. One of them
I
has
have
to.
no
You
idea which
can't
one.
have seven sisters. They can't all unless they were all born at the same time. One of them's got to be the youngest,
Right.
and,
Right.
and one of them's got to be the oldest.
Yes.
So I would say if you go alphabetically, Maya was the middle child.
All right. I'll accept that.
You
I
know,
could go and
but
I've got
he's got them
I,
listed alphabetically. So
I've got them. I mean, I have books back here on mythology and the name of stars or whatever. I can find all of that out for you, but why bother?
yeah. Well, we've lost half our audience so far, so let's see if we can lose the other half and just now
I
you nail me.
no, I can't. I
Why?
yeah. Tim Veltman sent me something. I was in a rush today.
Oh, so you
I
can't bring
saw
them
the
up?
que- I can't find it now.
I know worries. Just hold it for tomorrow.
Well, I'll look for it. I don't know where it went, unless he wants to send it to me again. I mean, these things sometimes these things just disappear
Well,
on
I
me.
know. You see how sometimes I have trouble. I have them. I put them on the screen, and then when I go to them, the screen is blank. I got to reload the page, so it is a bit of a pain. Anything astronomy wise that's going on that we should know about?
No, not really. I
No
mean,
asteroid. I read somewhere some asteroid is going to be passing close to the moon or
yeah,
something.
well,
What the
no,
hell is? What is that? Is that going to be the next round of the impending apocalypse?
Armageddon. Oh, actually, there is something. We don't have Comet Atlas anymore because that is literally just broken up into small pieces. But there is a new comet by the name of Swan. That's another acronym. I don't have in front of me. Solar. It's on a solar camera that's out in space, and somebody who was looking at the images just happened to see this as a blotch on one of the images. Anyway, this comet is getting very bright very fast, and we might actually be able to see it visually with the unaided eye later this month if it continues to brighten as it has been over the last week or so. So we'll keep an eye on that for everybody in the days to come.
All right, Robert Russo just nailed super chat tonight, and Joe and I appreciate it greatly. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Um, what's that?
I said yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Chuck Cardillo kind of went back to the Seven Sisters. Who the hell came up with these names uh, for the Seven Sisters? Who knows? Let's see. Did we pass the dates? Janet Forbes Dunn asked, did we pass the date when the planets and the crescent moon make a smiley face?
I saw that. I saw that, and it's a complete fallacy. Somebody posted that Jupiter and Venus were going to align with a crescent moon to create a smiley face in the
Well, you
sky.
know that Venus, how how loose she can be.
the
And
problem
let's not even discuss Jupiter.
the problem is that neither Jupiter or Venus are anywhere near each other. Somebody sent me this back on Sunday, a friend of ours, and I had to send that back to her and say this ain't happening. It's I don't know who made this story up, but it's not happening. So you didn't
Okay.
miss out on anything. There's no smiley face in the sky.
By the way, we should
I
also
can make a smiley face if you'd like.
true. We should acknowledge that along with Alfred Phillips, our other Alaska friend is Alaska Railroad, and we have them both on tonight on the chat board, which is very cool. Two folks from the great state of Alaska
The
on at the
vast
same time.
United States. Yes. Or as the former governor would say, I could see Russia from here.
Yes, exactly. All right, so I guess that covers it. There's not a whole lot, I got nothing much else to say other than whatever I could say will probably get me into a lot of trouble. I don't know, but I'll just stew and see what I wake up to tomorrow.
And we'll see tomorrow whether or not I had said yesterday that this morning's Me TV Perry Mason episode would be the one that's in color, and I was incorrect. It was not episode 20. It was episode 21. The question is, and I didn't even check the schedule, whether or not they're going to skip over that and go to 22, which they've done the last couple of years. If not, maybe tomorrow, if you wake up and watch Perry at 9 o'clock on MeTV, you'll see the one and only episode they ever filmed in color. I think that was their last gasp effort to keep Perry on for another year, but it didn't work. They were canceled, I think, a few weeks later. So
There were two things, just speaking of MeTV, and I didn't catch them, but apparently last night and night before last, they actually I happened to catch this last week at 11 o'clock. They have the Carol Burnett show. Okay, that's the 30-minute Carol Burnett show, and I happened to catch it when I DVR Perry Mason. It catches the closing credits, and they actually showed part of the very last Carol Burnett show. And she has the charwoman, the cleaning woman character that she would play from time to time, cleaning the empty studio because it was the studio was empty. That's how they closed the show, and it brought back some memories, having seen that actually live the day it aired. So um, uh, they started the cycle from the very beginning. And Carol Burnett show, I believe, ran for 11 years. And in a couple of the early years, Lucille Ball had been a guest, and they had back-to-back episodes. Looks like they ran the same episode twice because the close of the show looked identical to me. But it was where Lucille Ball was a guest, and Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball had a very, they were very good friends. So I have never seen that particular one, and unfortunately, I didn't get to see it because I don't DVR the Carol Burnett show. But they seem to be on the early cycle of that series. The other thing, I happened to catch this last night, and you'd enjoy this. I caught the end of an episode of Green Acres where Arnold the pig was missing, and as Lisa said, he took his sneakers. Okay, so and he walked up the road to Pixley, but apparently he was picked up by a pig farmer who was getting his pigs ready for market. So Lisa and Oliver went to this farm to try to find Arnold, and of course there were like 200 pigs in there.
right.
So it ends where Lisa leaves the pen open, and Arnold, along with 200 other pigs, go back to the Ziffel house, and there's all joy because Arnold has come back home. And of course, Arnold is carrying his sneakers, and Arnold liked to watch television, so he walked into the house and sat in his chair, turned the TV set on, and was watching TV. But it was, you know, it, the show the show was kind of ridiculous in a lot of ways.
There on YouTube you can see all the times that they opened the show with credits that some of them were on eggs that were hatched or laid by one of the hens.
Yes.
Sometimes Lisa and Oliver are in bed and a credit will suddenly pop up like directed by, and all of a sudden she'll turn the light on, and Eddie Albert says, "Why did you turn the light on?" "Oh, Oliver, I just saw a director by." They turn the light off, and then the producer comes on, and she said, "And now I just saw a producer by."
Oh, that's
I mean, they really were. They really
yeah.
went.
It was a little bit of an off the wall show. I guess seeing it now, um, seeing it now, there a lot of the humor seems to be of the inside variety. I
Oh,
also did. Somebody sent this to me, and it's funny because I had watched something. I'm a big Monty Python fan, and the uh, John Cleese and Graham Chapman were actually part of another comedy group before they joined up with Eric Idle and Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones, who were part of a different comedy group. So they showed this original comedy group with Chapman and Cleese There was one man that I did not recognize. The fourth member of that group was Marty Feldman.
Oh, oh,
And they do this whole bit. It's on YouTube, and somebody sent me the link to it. And it was, it's a sketch that they later used in Monty Python. But it was very funny to see Marty Feldman, Marty Feldman was in
right.
Young Frankenstein and a few other movies,
Silent
uh,
movie.
silent movie. So it was it was kind of cool to see that, to see the pre Monty Python stuff that was being done in England.
Mr. Keith Maniac from Guatemala, who can put bricks to sleep by hypnosis.
Well, this was the poor, what's called the poor man sketch, where you have these four rich men. They're sitting around drinking champagne, and they're reminiscing about their lives when they were kids and they were poor. And each one tells a story about how they were so poor that they each person had to make it sound worse and worse. One person said that we lived in a room. The next person said, "Well, you were lucky you had a room. We lived in a corridor." Then the next
Right.
person says, "Corridor luxury. We lived in a lake." And they would describe the conditions that they lived with. Each one was worse than they would just keep exaggerating and get worse and worse and worse. It brings you back to the time when your own father might have said, "In my day," I
Right.
think we all have parents that would say, "In my day, we walked to school 10 miles uphill each way in deep snow, and that kind of thing." So it was, it just to me, it was just when I see some of the older stuff that I've never seen before. I have you and I both are kind of cut out in the same mold and getting moldier all the time when
Exactly.
it comes to looking at old TV shows and nostalgia and everything else. But that's the way our clocks tick.
And some things can't be shown probably on television anymore. The SPCA would hate if they showed the Monty Python episode with Tiddles the cat.
Oh
This
yeah.
is this is Tiddles. Yes.
And
And
what
what
does
does
she
she
do? I
do? She
fling,
flies through
flies through
the
the
air
air.
and she lands in a bucket of
And
water
how does she do
by
that?
herself.
I
By
fling,
herself.
huh? I fling.
I think
I fling. Well, you know what their response to all of that would be? Any kind of politically correct criticism, their response would be, uh, they'd flip them the bird. So, I don't want to flip the bird on the air. I'm just, but that's what they would do. They
don't do that.
they they could care less about they would just tell any politically correct people to go take a long walk off
Probably
a short
you
pier.
probably you probably could do that on some shows today. After all, they don't have the remember the seal of good practice that they'd have after the end of each show.
Yes.
And now it's I guess after midnight you can flip the bird, but you really shouldn't do that at any time.
No, no. I'm not the sort of creature that does that on television. At
Right.
least, at least not yet.
Yes.
All right, so let's wrap it up. I got nothing else to say. You got nothing else to say. It's a Thursday night. I think I'm going to go outside and have a cigar before the rain comes. And we'll see you tomorrow night, folks, on the Joe and Joe Weather Show at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Are you game for a Friday night show?
I'm game. Where am I going? What am I
Where are
doing?
you going? What are
You're
you doing?
eh,
You know. Oh, by the way, before we go, I did see one thing that I thought was kind of clever and pretty. It was a no-brainer when you think about it. But the WHO, the World Health Organization. So
right.
somebody actually took the Abbott and Costello, who's on first episode, who's on first sketch, and substituted the WHO.
Oh,
You know, and so you can imagine what some the lines was. I was reading through it. I thought, oh, okay, this was pretty clever. Anyway, well,
and and I don't give a darn.
right, he's our shortstop. All right, Joe. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you later.